Bill W. What about you? You're putting out a message that I would think would be a fundamental threat to the primary forces of nature, at least economic nature.
Well, George, that's a great question. And luckily enough, since we produced this documentary, we've surprisingly come up against very little criticism from the pharmaceutical industry. One thing we did notice in particular, which I'm certain there was larger hands at play, is that we did get cancelled from some major media appearances that we were booked in America. In particular, we had a booking on Good Morning America, which got cancelled the night before because their legal department. And obviously there's a conflict of interest when we're telling people that most of the pharmaceutical drugs that they're taking are doing more harm than good, and this is known, and that by pouring all the medications into the sea would be better for our health, and unfortunately not very great for the fish. But by doing that, you're going to actually improve your health, and returning to natural approaches. I think that's a very strong message against the pharmaceutical industry, and we have had some press on TV in particular knocked back. Some press appearances that were booked had been cancelled or pre-recorded and never shown. So I think that's the only, as far as death threats and the like, we haven't had anything of this nature. And I think also because of the way that we present the information in the film, we are drawing on statistics that are known. We are drawing on statistics from peer-reviewed medical journals. Many of the people we interview in the film are themselves medical doctors who have done the best that the medical industry can provide, and it still has not helped their patients, and they've turned to natural approaches to help their patients. So we have a strong case, and I think maybe because of the strength of our case, we've attracted less how should you call it, less attacks from the pharmaceutical industry themselves.
Well, I'm surprised you got on any news show. As you mentioned earlier, I mean, 25% of all TV ads in America are drug ads. I'll bet it's 40% on news programs. It seems like the drug companies figure that people watching news, it's an older audience, they need drugs.
And that's exactly who they're marketing to. I mean, the drug companies, the perfect drug, once again, is a drug that's not going to treat, it's not going to cure you. It's going to mask some symptoms, and you're going to need to take it until the day you die. They don't want to kill you, but unfortunately a lot of their medications do, because if you're dead, you're no longer a consumer for them. But they don't want you to be cured either, because if you're cured, you're no longer a consumer for the pharmaceutical industry. They want to keep you sick, listless, and disinterested for as long as possible so that you can consume their drugs for as long as possible. And we see this over and over again, and especially all the drugs that you see marketed on TV are the drugs that are designed to treat diseases of lifestyle, cholesterol issues, reflux, heartburn issues, you've got depression issues, and all these illnesses are best treated with nutrition. They're best treated with natural approaches and not with medications, and this is something that needs to change, and why we've chosen Food Matters and the film as a vehicle for getting it out there.
Well, it's a fine line they're walking. Yeah, okay, it's fine that you're going to eat all this crap and get sick, but we don't want you to be so sick that you die. Yet, unfortunately, many of us do die. I mean, as you note, cardiovascular disease, that's a disease of the modern lifestyle. It's fast food and processed food and a lot of meat and starch, and it kills half of us. That's an incredible number, half of us dying from cardiovascular disease. And clearly a lot of that is because of what we stuff in our gullet.
Well, cardiovascular disease is a great case in point. I mean, that is the largest killer in North America. And what's so disturbing about it as well is that in all the heart disease deaths each year, which is over about 600,000 people die each year from heart disease, in half of those deaths each year, the first symptom is death. So you literally drop dead from a heart attack. And the other 50% of those who don't die will stay alive after some surgery or some cholesterol-lowering medication or some of these ridiculous approaches to treating this illness, which is clearly a lifestyle and diet-related illness. We're too stressed, and as we become stressed, we break down vitamin C in the body, and vitamin C is critically important for supporting the health of the arterial walls. So as you're stressed, your vitamin C goes down, your arterial walls and your cardiovascular system comes under stress. as your nutrient levels are compromised, your cardiovascular system comes under stress. So the poor diet and the high-stress lifestyle is leading to the #1 killer in North America, and for that case, the other Western countries in the world as well. And instead of addressing the stress issues, and instead of addressing the nutrient and nutrition issues, we're addressing it with drugs. And we're only making the situation worse. We really do need, for anybody with any heart disease issues, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, any of that, it's got to be diet, and it's got to be stress reduction. And when you combine those two together, Dr. Dean Ornish, who we talk about in the film, and Andrew Saul talks about this as well, is that he is taking people with severe cardiac disease, severe heart disease, and he's able to reverse those conditions with no problems whatsoever, just using plant-based foods, a nutrition-based protocol, and also stress reduction. And yet we're using, we're doing billions of dollars worth of bypass surgery every year in America, which can be completely prevented and reversed naturally.
We've been pretty tough on the medical profession. It's hard to believe all of these doctors are bad guys and are only out for the bottom line. I mean, I would imagine, I know doctors who are in this because they want to cure people, and we have to say that there have been advances. Maybe they haven't cured cancer, but certain survivability rates for some types of cancer have dramatically improved. And yet at the same time that is happening, it seems like we're promised, oh yeah, a new cancer breakthrough is just around the corner, just out of our grasp.
Well, it's not, you're right, you're absolutely right there, George. It's not always the doctors that are at fault here. They're extraordinarily busy. It's the system and the economics behind the healthcare industry which is at fault, and the way that industry is regulated. And until that changes, which is very unlikely to happen in the near future because it supports such a big industry, and until that changes, then our health is going to be under attack from these industries. And cancer is a perfect case in point. I mean, we make a big case about cancer in the film because it's a very, very strong word. It is very close to people's hearts, and you've got 1 in 3 people dying from cancer. But the fact of the matter is that the American Medical Association themselves have stated that for all types of cancer, now they have made improvements in survivability in some types of cancer, but for all types of cancer at all stages of diagnosis, whether they're stage 1 or stage 4, which is terminally ill, less than 30% of people survive the 5-year mark using chemo, surgery, or radiation, or cut, burn, and poison, or as it also can be referred to. So 70% of people are dying from cancer who are diagnosed within 5 years' time. And Andrew Saul in the documentary goes on to say that this survival rate, this 5-year survival rate, has remained almost unchanged for the last 4 decades. And in that time, from 1972, we had Nixon coming out and saying, let's make a war on cancer. If we can put somebody on the moon, if we can throw enough money at this, we'll be able to win the war on cancer. And in the 25 years up to 1996, there was $39 billion of taxpayers' money. $39 billion of taxpayers' money over 25 years was spent on the war on cancer. And in those 25 years, the death rate doubled from cancer. We had 220,000 people a year dying from cancer in 1972. And in 1996, it was up to 560,000 people dying each year from cancer. The war on cancer is just that. It's a war. And wars are only making money when you're fighting them. And the cancer industry is a $200 billion a year industry, and it is using therapies that are not very effective for treating cancer. And in many cases, people are dying from the treatment itself. Chemotherapy, surgery, and radiation are very, very huge shocks to the body, and chemotherapy is itself a carcinogen and can cause cancer. And so if you compare this approach to cancer with natural approaches to cancer, which are outlawed in the US and outlawed in many Western countries as well, you see that this is an economic issue, and unfortunately, people are getting the blunt end of the stick. It's not a fair deal.
And it's not just a matter of cancer treatment, it's a matter of not getting it in the first place, which, you look at as your film does, many of the factors in the high cancer rates. I mean, the chemicals that we eat, the pesticides that we eat, the lead that's in our system now, mercury from fillings, things of that sort, that all of those which could generate cancer, and all of which we pay so very little attention to.
That's correct. I mean, cancer is a difficult topic because it's very multifaceted. But there are many things we know about cancer now. There are certain food additives that are known to cause cancer. There are certain types of foods that are known to cause cancer, or especially the food additives in particular, like in the preservatives and some of these colorings. And on top of that, there are many chemicals we now know that can cause cancer, environmental chemicals. Chemicals that we've been releasing wholesale into the environment since World War II are now showing up in the cells of every living creature on this planet. And, you know, we have PCBs, we have DDTs, these types of things, and as you alluded to just then, the mercury from the mercury amalgam fillings, which are put into many people's teeth all around the world, and this is leaching into our bloodstream. So you have this sort of onslaught of toxins into the body on an ongoing basis, and then you have the nutrient deficient diets that we're eating fed from the agribusiness and the food industry. And so what happens is your body develops a deficiency of nutrients and it becomes overtoxic. And any time the body is in a state of nutrient deficiency and an overtoxicity, your body goes into a severe state of stress, and then any particular genetic weakness that you might have is very likely to play out. So if you have a genetic tendency towards prostate cancer in your family, or breast cancer, for instance, or even heart disease for that matter, then as your body is put under a state of nutrient deficiency and overtoxicity, we can develop these illnesses, and that's what's happening.
And it can be reversed just as easily.
Well,
or more easily.
Using those same principles, adding in the nutrients to correct the deficiencies and removing the toxicity through detoxification. And that is the core message behind the film, and it is at odds with the pharmaceutical industry because it doesn't make the pharmaceutical industry any money. But if people are struggling with an illness and they're looking for alternatives, they really need to be opening their eyes up to the power of nutrition and natural therapies to heal, and that's what the film was about.
And detoxification doesn't have to be something really complicated. It's as simple as drinking water.
Drinking water, eating foods, plant-based foods, green foods, mucogenous detoxification foods like chia seeds, aloe vera, seaweeds, helping draw toxins and minerals out of the bottom, being out in nature, sunlight, fresh water, juicing especially, green vegetable juices and lots of vegetable juices, not too much sugary fruits, lots of green veggies with a little bit of sweetness in there. That's a very powerful and easy way to detoxify. We can all do it, and it's so important for our bodies, especially these days.
I know you said in your list of things that one of the recommendations in the film was an hour of sunlight or so a day. I don't think you've spent a whole lot of time here in the Mojave Desert around Las Vegas, but it depends on the time of year, I guess. But we'll get back to some of your suggestions, and we'll open up the phone lines with questions from our Coast to Coast listeners right after this. Stay with us, everyone. Welcome back to Coast. Jason, my guy, tells me that version of the song was Guess Who. I know that there's a version of that song from The Who and the Live at Leeds album, pretty famous album, so take your pick. I like the song either way. We're talking with my guest, James Colquhoun, about his documentary, Food Matters. James, before we open up the phone lines, how do people see this film?
Well, we've got on our website, you can stream the film for an online view, or you can buy the DVD. And we have a special for Coast to Coast viewers for the next couple of days for 50% off the DVD. So we're pretty excited about offering that. And there's a link to the Coast to Coast special on our homepage, which is foodmatters.tv.
Good. I hope a lot of people take you up on it. Any chance is it showing in theaters here?